Today on the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast, I'm joined by my friend Sonya Peacocke. Sonya is a widow with an amazing and heartbreaking story of grief, loss, and God's redemptive power. Sonya shares about the need to plant churches with a priority of ministering to those who are experiencing grief and loss. I have to say that this is one of the more convicting and powerful episodes that I've recorded, and I know you'll be blessed as we discuss the importance of prioritizing people in pain. The Cultivate Church Planting Podcast is part of CGN Media, a podcast network that points to Christ. Check out cgnmedia.org for more great shows and ways to support the ministry. Okay, welcome to the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast.
Should I sing the song?
Yeah, can you please?
Cultivate, it's not a cult with Brian Kelly. There you go.
Right, I love it.
Thank you.
Rights reserved.
Yes.
Okay, I'm here with Sonya Peacocke, and she's here to talk about her story and to tell us, as church planters and church pastors, what we need to do better in caring for widows and those who are grieving in our churches.
Indeed. And I'm very excited to be talking about this because it's my bread and butter.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to get started right away with your wonderful, sad, joyful at times story. Is that a good way to say it?
To preface it, I've made my therapist cry several times.
I'm not going to cry.
Okay.
I'm not crying.
You're not crying. Okay. So my name's Sonya Peacocke, and I grew up in a Christian home and had a bunch of siblings, and I actually was abused by one of my siblings, and it was one of those things that you just kind of sweep under the rug and you kind of hope that you can just make your family whole again, because no one actually knows what to do in that situation. So I grew up with a strong sense of like, this happened to me, and I'm so grateful that it was me and not anybody else, because that was too much for me to handle as a kid. And I always kind of had that attitude. And the Holy Spirit presented himself to me at a very young age, because I believe that I needed that in my life, and God saw that, and he just took care of me. So I was little, I was maybe like 7 or 8. Everything was happening. I was having panic attacks at night. I didn't know it was happening. And I just remember one night I was laying in my bed, and there was light that was coming through my window, and it just looked like this giant hand over me. And I looked up and I saw that, and I just started to cry, and I felt immediate relief. And I knew in that moment that God's hand was over me, that he was protecting me, that he was my father, and that even though all these things had happened and that life was so different than what I knew it was supposed to be, that I was still okay, and that he was there. I don't remember. I was like
little kid. You were a little
7,
kid.
8, maybe. Like I knew at that time, and it was a rough time for my family, and it was just a process of no one really know how to handle it. And all that I remember is that I knew that the Lord was with me, and I trusted that, and I put my faith in it. And then as I grew up, I tried my best to be forgiving. I tried my best to just keep going forward and be like the best version of myself, so nobody had to worry about me. Just like kind of controlling the situation so that I didn't have to kind of like feel that darkness again. So fast forward, my dream was to be a mom and to be a wife. Like, I would think about that all the time. I was always like, if I was being annoying to my siblings, they'd call me mom. I'd be like, okay, like, I'm not the mom. And then I started like,
You're the oldest?
No, I'm the second youngest out of 7.
But you were the mom.
I was a mom. So this is not a great look. I didn't like it, but that's who I was.
Well, you that's not even the center of your story.
No,
as far as
leading up to
dealing
it.
with those who have lost loved ones, who have suffered traumatic experiences, events, abuse. And what would you, before you continue your story, what would you say, and I know there's numbers for this and statistics, but there's probably a pretty big percentage in our churches of people who have gone through similar experiences.
Oh, there's a lot.
So we're not talking about like a small group of people that are just, you know.
Men and women too.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to have you on, is because, you know, this is a church planting podcast, but as we're planting churches, we want to plant them in the right way with the best foundation. And I really feel like, especially in this day and age, dealing with people who have suffered traumatic experiences, loss, things like that, is probably one of the most important things we can do. True and undefiled religion before the Lord. I couldn't wait to bring this one out. That's the verse about to care for widows and orphans. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Of course. Like,
so you're 50%.
Yeah, 50%. There we go.
I'm actually doing spoilers right now because I said that you're a widow.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's all
Carry
right.
on.
We carry on.
Carry on.
So my dream was to be a mom and a wife. And I had this belief that, like, no matter what I did, I couldn't make that happen because of my experiences as a child. And I just knew that the Lord, that's not what was going to happen. And so at that point in my life, I was maybe like 12 or 13. I put my faith in the Lord again. And I was like, you know, if this is all I have, if you're all I have, then you're all I have. And that's okay. And like, I was dealing with these things at, like, I was 7, I was 10, I was 13, and I was processing all of this. So I had met a boy when I was 8.
On the playground?
Church.
Oh, okay. All right.
He was a missionary from South Africa. And I was like, this guy's the guy. So I met him, and he broke my little 8-year-old heart, and he left, and he moved to Africa, whatever. And then I was 15, and I decided, you know, like, I'm gonna try to find a man. And I found my late husband, Daniel. I was like, I found him, and I found him on Facebook, and we became friends, and we started dating, and my parents thought it was nothing. And then before you know it, I was traveling to South Africa at 17.
Was Daniel the same as the 8-year-old kid? No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he was 8 when I met him.
How come I didn't know that?
I don't know.
I'm like, man, that's random. You met 2 South African kids.
No,
Where'd you grow up in?
Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah, that's right. All right.
He was from Durban, South Africa, and I was from Connecticut, and we met when we were 8, and I tried to flirt, and then he made fun of me before flirting.
Like sharing your lunch and stuff like that?
No, I climbed over him in a dress in my parents' van.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were going to say, like, it did one of those things where it says, do you like me?
No.
Yes,
I tried to show him that I was cool.
Oh, okay.
So I was, like, climbing over stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom had made me one of those, like, prairie dresses. I think I had that on. And I was like, watch me climb over my van seats. And I just climbed on over. And I was like, look at me.
Cool.
I'm cool. And he was like, you're not.
Yeah.
But at 15, he thought I was cool. So before you know it, I decided to go to Africa because his visa keeps getting denied because he wasn't a citizen. And so I flew over there by myself. I had never flown before. I was 17. I hadn't met him since I was, I think 12 was the last time I saw him. And like my parents barely knew his parents, and I just went to stay with them for 3 months. Like, just, cause why not?
Why not? Yeah. You've known him since you were 8.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I've met him at least twice. So I went there. We got married when we were 20. And we were long distance dating the entire time. We were long distance married for 1.5 years. And
well, long distance married?
Yep.
Okay, what does that mean?
Like, he lived in another country while I was here. And I moved to Florida, actually. So I lived in Connecticut. And I moved to Florida when we got married because we decided to move here because it was more small business friendly than Connecticut. So we moved here. Well, I moved here. And
because of his visa stuff?
Yeah, because of his visa stuff. It was supposed to take 3 months, and it took almost 1.5 years.
Ooh. Yeah.
So, and the Lord provided over and over again. Like, that was a relationship that, like, why did that work? And how, like, everything that had to fall into place, it just did. Like, you hear it with, like, I'm sure with, like, missions all the time, and, like, his family experienced it a lot as missionaries, where it's like, this situation, I have no control in this situation. I have nothing.
Yeah, you can't do anything. It's in the hands of in that case, the government.
Mm-hmm. Which...
Was it the U.S. government or the South African?
South African government, which was very bad. Like, we almost, like, for example, the South African government, we got there, I got there to get married, and we went to the consulate to get, like, to get approved to be married, that it wasn't like a sham.
The U.S. certificate?
Yeah. We went back there 4 or 5 times. This was a week before we got married, and we almost didn't get legally married because they just kept telling us to go away and then come back the next day. So we had to keep driving. It was wild. Like, if you ever get married in another country to another, I don't know, with someone who's not a U.S. citizen, especially Africa, it's rough.
Yeah. But I thought South Africa was a little bit different.
It's a little bit better. But basically, they weren't allowed to enter the country because they lived in Botswana. And Botswana government, which was right next to Zimbabwe, they would cross the border. The Botswana government they thought they were prejudiced against missionaries because every time they went, they would get denied, and they were rude. They wouldn't actually ask questions. They would just say no when they heard about who they were. So that's why they actually moved to South Africa, because where they were living, like, they couldn't leave. They couldn't go to the States. They couldn't come back to raise support. So that's wild. But
you did get married.
We did get married, and it was wonderful. We did end up in the same place. And one of the things I like to tell people is, well, I'll rewind. We ended up in the same place. And everyone was asking us, like, when do you want to have kids? When do you want to do this? And we would always tell people, like, well, we just want 5 years in the same place before we really, like, start that life. And we had to get our feet on the ground. We were only 20. So we spend 5 years here together in the same place. And we go through COVID together. Like, we start a business together. We start a couple businesses together. We plant our lives here in Florida, and we're around my nieces and nephews constantly. So, like, we get to, like, play with kids, and I get to see him interact with children, and it's just, like, it fills my heart up. And then we decide, like, okay, like, it's time. Like, this is time to build our family. It's 5 years. And it was right after COVID happened, 2021. And he had a deep desire to go see his family. And he was like, I just need to go see them. Africa. Yeah, I need to go to South Africa. So I said, okay, well, like, you can go, but it's not feasible for me to go right now. Like, you know, there's work. The tickets are $1,500. Like,
the flight's like 20 hours.
Yeah, like, and I have to work. And he had this little opportunity of time, and he had, like, the desire to go. And if Dan had a desire to do something, you just got to let him do it. And it's like, his heart was always in the right place, and he always had a good direction. And, like, he was a wonderful, wonderful man. When I married Dan, I recognized that God had given me a gift and that I thought I would never have. And it was one of those things where he was years ahead of most people. And I think that was a gift that God gave him. And I think it was a gift that God gave me, because now I'm in the situation I'm in. I can be better, and I can be more because of who Dan was.
Yeah. And God knew the whole story.
Yeah.
You didn't know the story at that point.
Exactly. Exactly. So thank goodness God knows the whole story.
Yeah, seriously.
So the next thing that happened was, so Dan had the deep desire to go back to see his parents in Africa, and I let him go. And when he got there, he felt kind of sick, and it turned out he had leukemia. So after 2 weeks of being there, he was diagnosed with leukemia on Saturday. And on Sunday, I talked to him for the last time over FaceTime, and all he told me was he was tired. And then on Monday morning, he passed away. So yeah, it was a shock, and I wasn't there, and I was only 25. So,
wow.
I know.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And you tried to get there, didn't you fly out?
I did try to get there, but it's one of those stories where, like, I wish that I had the time to sit here and, like, tell you everything that happened point by point by point. Like, but the biggest thing, I think, for one, is that I always tell people, you never know when God's answering a prayer. You never know when you're asking for something, because the thing is, we have all these ideas of our life. Like, oh, well, I would love to get married, and, like, we'll buy a house and we'll have a kid. And, like, this, when you're planning your life, you're not planning your life. You're asking for things.
Yeah.
It's an ask.
Yeah.
And there's
you're
no
not
guarantee.
in control.
Right. So we think we have control, and it's okay to have a sense of control, because it's okay, like, mentally to be like, you know, I'm in control of what pair of overalls I put on today. I put on black ones, and then I was like, you know what? I want blue.
Corduroy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put on the corduroy blue ones with the trimmed off bottom parts.
Yeah, that's right. That's like what I have control over. But you know what? I could have ripped my pants, like, and I don't actually have control over it. But it's good to have, like, a sense of control, and that's not the control that I'm talking about. Like, it's okay to ground yourself in things, but it's not okay to believe that you're controlling anything in your life. You can make wise choices. You can listen to the Holy Spirit. You can let God guide you. You can do things that are good for your mental health. But if you need to give the control over to God, because He's gifting you things. And that's why it's so important to understand the gift of thankfulness, like, and to teach people thankfulness, and to understand that our body physically changes when we express gratitude. Like, what is the chemicals that are released change.
Yeah.
And
are these is this some of the counsel you give to other? So getting ahead of ourselves here.
We are.
You have you have a ministry.
Yes, I have a ministry to the widows.
Widows.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that you're probably among the younger of the widows that you minister to.
I am. I think everybody is over 60, and I've always kind of run with that crowd. Like, I've always
You're
been
an old soul.
I am.
Yeah.
I am an old soul, and I don't know if that's also, like, God was lining me up for this, because I am able to connect well.
Yeah.
But it's just different experiences.
Well, this all happened for a purpose, and Dan's not gone. He's with the Lord.
In heaven.
Yeah. So it's just a temporary
He's kind of
setback.
a jerk. Like, he gets.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes I sing breakup songs. I'm like, oh, you jerk.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not his
Are you
fault.
old enough to know about emo music?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was just checking.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All right.
Don't you worry. I got it.
I got you.
So, but yeah, like, what I was, you're not going back to, like, we asked for 5 years. We wanted 5 years before kids, and we didn't realize we were asking for 5 years. So I traveled to Africa. I talked with his doctors, and without telling the doctors anything about who Dan and I were, he sat us down, and one of the first things that he told us was, from the results of the test, we believe that Dan had this sitting dormant in his system for 5 years.
Whoa.
If that doesn't tell you that the Lord's in control, I don't know what does.
That was a blessing. You got 5 years.
Yep. And I mean, and he was in the hospital for a couple days. Like, he had some cancer treatments. He had, like, some pretty intense stuff done. And, like, we went to go pay. And, you know, this whole time that we were married, all the, like, the visa process, his green card kept getting messed up. Like, they literally would send him one in the mail, and it just would never arrive. And then we'd have to pay for another one to come in, not his green card, but his visa. And then COVID stopped a lot of applications. So he was still, after 6 years of being married, a South African citizen. And it was frustrating, because it was like, oh my gosh, we just keep getting rejected. We keep doing this. And it was so difficult to go through, because it's like, well, we just need him to be a citizen so we can do this, so we can do this, so we can do this. When he had a need to go to Africa, I was also like, well, why did he go to Africa? Why did he do this? He went to Africa, and he was still an African citizen, but he was making money here. So that put him below the poverty line in South Africa. Because he's below the poverty line and all the hospitals were government-run hospitals, his total bill was $12.
Nice.
Yeah, so it only cost him $12 to die.
Are you saying that all of these things were working together for a purpose?
All of them.
That's a great story.
It just...
I mean, it's not great, but it is great.
It's great. It's God. What God does is great. It's not a great story because Dan died and I went through the worst experience of my life. But in that, God provides and he gives you promises. And and if you're looking for those promises and you're looking for those answers, he's going to show them to you. You just have to be open to look and to be grateful and to see things as an opportunity. Like, I don't like how everything went down. Mm-hmm. It's really traumatic, but hold on.
Drink your coffee.
Okay. It was really traumatic, but at the end of the day, like it worked out for his glory and for my good.
Yeah.
So even if I don't like it,
that's a great testimony, and I feel like that's the content of the message that people need to hear who are experiencing grief.
Yep.
I mean, the timing is, you probably know more about this, or you do know more about this than I do, but there's the timing of it, but the content of that message that God is in control, things happen within his grasp and timing.
Yep.
Is that your message that you tell to your ladies?
I tell them all the time, yeah. Like, it's up to him. And, like, when you think God isn't carrying you, I kind of picture it like, I think in pictures. So, like, in my head, what the Lord does is he carries you. And he has you kind of, like, in his arms. He's this giant, because I'm thinking about, like, fairy tales and all the time. I'm just like, oh, wow, look at that. So, yeah, I'm just like, he is this giant, and he's just carrying you in his arms. And, like, he's got you, and he's walking the path, and you're looking around, seeing everything, and listening to the birds and experiencing the air. But if you tense up, and you feel like, and you close your eyes, and you feel like nothing's happening and nothing's carrying you, you're going to get tired. You're going to, like, all he requires of you is to relax.
Yeah.
Like,
he's still carrying you, but the journey is going to be different if you don't know that.
If you relax into the journey, it's going to be so much better. And I think that's, like, you see Christians struggling all the time. And why are they struggling? Because they're not relaxing into the situation and they're trying to control it. And maybe you're trying to be wise, maybe you're trying to be smart, maybe you're trying to do things. But sometimes, like, I think, especially in America, or just people in general, probably just people in general, we want to take charge.
Yeah.
And
we want to control. It's all about control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes us feel comfortable.
And we've learned that since we were little kids, you know, that you can do what you want. You can take control of your life. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. All this stuff.
It's like, no, if you just, like, trust in God, like, he will do it. And you're pretty, he makes you capable. Like, people tell me I'm wise. They tell me I'm inspiring. But, like, I look at them and I'm like, I am not.
I think you're wise.
But I'm not. It's the Holy Spirit that makes me that way.
Yeah.
So I am, but
you've been given the gift of wisdom.
Exactly.
You're like a girl Solomon.
Yeah.
Without 1,000 husbands. Are you going to get married again?
I would love to get married again.
Yeah,
that's actually been, like, one of the things I'm like, oh, that's an easy yes. And that's one of the things I have to let go of control of.
Yeah.
Because in my mind,
so you actually have to practice what you preach.
Yeah, it's easy to preach.
Tell me about it. I know.
Yeah, no offense. It's easy to preach, but it is it is hard to walk it out.
Yeah.
And if, like I said, like, the more you look for God to control your life, the more he'll show you where you're holding on to control. And so recently, like, there's been situations where I've dated people and it hasn't worked out, and which is fine. Like, that's part of life, but it has showed me what the hurt of the past is. It has showed me that the hurt from the past in my childhood is still there. And that part of me is the part that controls, the part that holds on, and the part that makes me exhausted. and it's unhealthy patterns of behavior. And I want to be a healthy version of myself, because I know that it not only affects me, but it affects everybody around me.
Yeah.
It affects my loved ones, like my future children, my future husband, that directly will affect them. So it is my job and my responsibility to look to the Lord, say you're in control, and to do my part for those around me. And that's always kind of like how I've been since I was younger. And in that is it's a great attitude, and it's taken me really far in life. But the problem is I'm the sacrificial lamb and Jesus isn't. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I am taking it on myself,
Yeah.
and I'm playing God. I can't do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back to, because majority of our audience is church planters or pastors
Yep.
who are involved in newer churches,
Mm-hmm.
church renovations kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to decide what to focus on in ministry. And there's
Yeah.
so many different things
Yeah.
in life,
Yeah.
and pastors have to decide what we're going to do. And we're saying the care for people who are suffering grief, going through loss, traumatic experiences in the past, whatever it may be, needs to be a high priority.
It needs to be a high priority, because I'm telling you, every single person in the church is suffering. And if you have a view of we need to help this one group or this one group or this one group, you're going to get overwhelmed really quickly. And I don't think that you can do everything that you are able to do for those people. So I think you need a good base.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. What should we do? I mean, I'm asking you.
I think it takes I was telling
we all need a Sonya in our churches?
You need a Sonya, but you need someone to support a Sonya, and then you need someone to support that person, and then you need someone to support that person. You need to create a sturdy base, and that base starts with Jesus, and you build your foundation on him. And what does he tell you to do? He tells you to love others. He tells you to care for others. He tells you to let go of control. So do that. Then I think one of the things that some of my widow friends and I talk about a lot is that the church needs a heart for it, because if you feel like it's just a job that you're doing begrudgingly?
Begrudgingly, yeah.
Begrudgingly.
Good. Sounds good to me.
If you're doing a job begrudgingly,
I'm no language expert, but
you're not going to do it well.
Yeah.
And if you're so focused on your numbers and your worship, there are so many churches that are more concerned about their worship than they are the people in their church that are hurting. And that is not okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
That's convicting.
Stick one person up there and sing.
That's convicting to us church leaders.
Yeah. Who cares if they don't like it? Pull out the hymn books. If that's what you can afford, pour your money into hymn books and make people sing hymns, and then go help the widow. Fix her AC.
Yeah.
Go have lunch with her. Spend time with her. Yep. And him. There are widowers. I got a lot of things to say. Brian. I know you might not like 45 minutes, but we're doing 45 minutes.
Do you feel strongly about this at all? Or?
Oh, no. No. It's not me. But you need people to care about other people. And when you get a group of people that is so overwhelmed by their own problems and their own conditions, you get people who are crippled. They're frozen in their own stuff. Yeah. And you need to find the people that are you need to create a healthy church, and you need to get your priorities straight, because it is not about the worship.
Yeah. So would that be the first step, is prioritizing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making sure, and if you don't have a heart for the widows, if you don't have a heart for the people who are hurting, don't pretend like you do.
Yeah, that's good. That's hypocrisy.
Tell them, sorry, we don't have anything for you here, and be honest with them.
Yeah, that's a good word. Because speaking from my own perspective, and I know a lot of people listening who are leaders of churches would say, okay, you've convinced us, we've got to put this as a priority.
Yep.
But it's intimidating, because we know, I'm just speaking honestly here, we know, getting people in the seats. We know how to do worship. We know how to teach the Bible. We know how to do the children's ministry. We know how to do the, hospitality, put the coffee out and all that. We know all that about church. Mm-hmm. But this is not a category that there's a lot of priority on in training even, or in Bible colleges and things like that.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because you can only understand it if it's happened.
Yeah, truly, I guess.
When Dan died, I recognized that it was a gift to know this.
Wow.
It is a gift, and it is an honor that God has given me to know what it is to be widowed.
Yep.
It's a gift.
Do you think it's a matter of finding the people that have that gift within your church?
I think it is, and I think you have to recognize that there are certain people that can serve widows, can serve orphans with a heart that they have a heart for that.
Yep.
And there are some people that have a heart but don't know what to do. And that uncomfortableness stops people from doing anything.
Yeah.
When I was first widowed, a lot of people reached out. So many people reached out, like hundreds of people. I didn't have the capacity for it. And the only people who stayed around and who have stayed consistent, who are the ones who consistently have the capacity for me, even though I'm able to give about 5%. And they don't care. They continue to give me 100%, and I tried my best to give them my 5% because my 5% is sometimes my 100%.
Yeah. I'm just thinking through this just practically about getting people involved. And we always I even taught it this Sunday, that the work of the apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, the church leadership, in other words, is to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And then you tell people, everybody has something to do. But it's like we get so limited on what those things are. Like, you can be an usher.
Say okay, here's an example. Like, my friend is widowed and she needs a handyman. Like, there's a lot of handymen in our church, but do you know how many of the widows that I have talked to have had a handyman go, hey, like, I know you're widowed, like, if you need something, here's my number.
Yeah.
And the problem is, so this is the problem.
Should we try to get, I'm going to get to the problem here, but okay. I'm thinking of this now. Should we try to get like a young, handsome, single handyman to give you his number?
No. Okay, this is another problem. We're going to get to that.
All right.
This is what we're doing. This is
real talk.
This is real talk, because that's actually another problem. So hear me out.
Okay.
So
I don't know anything about this. I'm not a widower.
That's fine. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. That's really good. Stay that way. The first problem is, like, they need help. So you need people to reach out and to ask if they need help. And we're not great at community in America like they are in other countries. Like,
yeah, that's true.
We don't support each other like other people do. Like,
we don't know each other. We don't know what's going on.
Nope.
If you know what's going on, it's easy to.
It's very easy.
Get involved and stuff.
And the thing is, when you're widowed, like, so you have, like, okay, all these people are like, I'll help you. The first thing you have to learn as a widow is to say yes. And let me tell you, that is one of the hardest things to do. Because you don't want to inconvenience people. You don't want to feel like you're a burden. You don't want to cause other people pain, because the pain that you're experiencing, when you see it, other people have sympathy for you, that increases the pain. Ooh. It's very difficult.
It sounds like a tough ministry.
It's a very tough ministry, and that's why you need to focus on it.
We need to support you more.
Yeah. Just let me talk.
Have you thought about going into like counseling and like professionally?
I have my coaching degree, and I
know you do that. You're great at it.
I've thought about it, but
as a career.
I don't know. I actually went to school for psychology,
okay.
And I stopped because I pursued more creative things, and I don't know, wherever the Lord takes me, where I'll go.
Yeah.
I could finish my degree and do that, but whatever.
Well, you're not. I'm going to tell you something you may not know. You are not in control of your life. God is. Every detail of it.
Thank you.
You still need to hear that, though, don't you?
I do. I was going to say, you think I know, but
I know.
it's good to hear that from other people.
I need to hear it.
It's Good. So, okay, so we have the first problem of, nobody, who's
nobody
reaching
helps.
out to help the widow?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to overstep. It's an uncomfortable situation.
We're being polite.
You don't know what to say. Yeah, you're being polite. But are you being polite, or are you just stepping back because you don't know what to do?
Yeah.
And then there's people who will overstep, and it's like, no, get away from me. I don't need you to overstep. But there's
like they have like a savior thing. They want to be the guy to come in and
save everything. But
save everything.
yeah,
Save the Sonya.
That's a problem too. But then the widow, whether it be a man or a woman, because this applies to both, they do not want to ask for help. They don't know how to ask for help. They just don't know. And if
that can apply to, I think, a lot of situations, not just the widows. I think it would be in someone who's dealing with difficult things.
Yeah.
I mean, depression is a huge thing. That's what I was thinking of. Unless you've gone through it, experienced it, you don't have the gift.
Yep.
I'm going to start saying that from now on.
You don't have the gift. Hey, it's a gift. Yeah. It's an honor. You have to be a good steward. The Lord calls us to be a good steward.
Yeah. If you have suffered in one way or another as a Christian, you have a gift to be able to help those.
Yeah.
That is in the Bible. It says, with the comfort that you have received from the Lord, show that and care and comfort for others.
Exactly. So
we should probably just follow the Bible.
We probably should.
Church.
You probably should. And you should probably ask the Lord, like, hey, we need to provide for the widows and the orphans.
I know.
Because the other thing is, people are widowed all the time, and we don't see it. People saw me because I'm 25. I was 25.
Because you're a very unique situation.
Yeah. So people see me and they're like, whoa, and they want to watch. It's like watching our car crash as you're driving by. Like, you just want to see it. And I'm like, cool, I'm a car crash. Like, this is a fun experience.
Cut off.
And
Look at me.
Yeah, and I did put myself online a lot just to like express myself. And because I knew that I was like, if this is happening to me, this is happening to other people. Yeah. And people don't realize.
You've met other young widows, right?
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah. Especially
suicide widows. It's a big problem.
Jeez, this is a whole category that I think we have no idea about.
Yep. So
you're doing a good work.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying. I'm really trying. The stress on my face, can you tell? That's me trying.
That's me. So for our fellow pastors out there,
yes.
Prioritize.
Yep.
Just see the need for it, because we're scared. We don't know what to do.
It's not about you.
You know,
if you're scared, it's not about you.
Yeah. So, but we should do something.
You do something. And if you fumble, it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you're honest, that's okay. And if you say like, hey.
But I like what you said. Don't pretend like you have a heart for it if you don't.
If you pretend, we can see through that.
Yeah.
Oh, and it is an awful feeling.
In any category. It's not just a widow thing. It's everything.
And it's an awful feeling. And you know what? That makes people really jaded. And you know what happens when people are jaded? They walk away.
Yikes.
They walk away. And it's very easy. And when they walk away, they're jaded and they're hurting people along the way.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where it's a ripple effect. And the more you let your pride lead you, the more people you're going to hurt.
Yeah.
The more you are hurting other people.
Yep.
By what you do in your church. And I'm not saying you're trying to. We all have good intentions, but you have to look at your heart when you're up there, when you're leading a church. That's one of the most important things. Where is your heart as a church?
Mm-hmm.
And
what are your values? What are your goals? What is in your mission statement? What is your vision? All of that stuff has to be affected by caring for people who are hurting.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You have to establish that before you start. And
whoa. Are you hearing this, church planters out there?
Establish it before you start.
Yeah.
And talk to people.
They're like, we're just trying to get enough money to figure out how we're gonna pay the bills.
But that's pretty, like, that's understandable. Money is a huge stress.
Yeah.
You know who stresses about money?
Who?
Widows. Do you know who a lot of people don't have a life insurance?
I felt like I knew the answer to that one, but I just didn't get it in time.
Yeah, because even if you're left with life insurance or not, like, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're screwed.
Especially, I would imagine, for those who have been with their wife or husband for so long, like a longer period of time,
Yep.
and you become dependent.
Yep.
Like, it's hard for me to be away from Lynn for a week, 2 weeks. It's like there's just something wrong with my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine, how to live with that.
It's extreme. I experienced it and I expressed it as extreme separation anxiety when Dan died.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you experience that, the closer you have to get to God.
You have a lot of little wisdoms in there.
Oh yeah, I've been talking. I've been talking for 2.5 years about this. I got a lot of little things. We can make this a 2-part series.
Yeah, we could actually.
I mean, that's fine.
I feel like there's got to be a platform. I mean, I'm sure you do have the, places where you can serve and you can use your gift.
And the thing is, I think I am using the gift where it needs to be right now. So what I do is not what you'd expect me to do. Like, I lead a widows group, but I also feel like my friendships are extremely important, and how I connect with people is extremely important. And what I do with my words, I think I've never thought about that before, but I think it's like what I do with my words. It doesn't matter to me if I'm popular or if it does matter to me if I'm popular, but at the end of the day, it doesn't.
That's not important.
I know it's not important.
Yeah.
I know that I will be popular because I have a big smile and I wear
cool.
overalls.
Yeah, you have cool.
But I'm really not cool.
Yeah, you are cool, actually.
I'm just myself, and that's
what's cool about you.
Cool.
Just being yourself is cool, kids.
I can't pretend. I have no ability to pretend about who I am and who I'm not.
Yeah, you've lost that. That's a gift.
It is a gift. So, but okay, we got to get back to the tiers.
All right, go ahead.
Problems. Okay, or what you do to solve these problems. So you have a good foundation. You think about it before you starting a church. You decide, what are we going to do?
This is going to be a priority.
This is going to be a priority. Yeah. Our hearts are here. Make sure your hearts are in the right place. If they're not in the right place, get them in the right place, or be honest with those who come to your church.
Because you can still, it's the same with love, I guess. You may not feel it at first, but making those decisions based on that priority. Okay.
You have to choose to love someone.
So we don't have to feel it necessarily at first, but we have to prioritize it.
No.
That's what you're meaning. Do
you know who's not hot? People in need. You're not like, wow, dang, look at those hot people at our church.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Well, it's the same. I think about homeless ministry. I think about drug and alcohol rehab stuff.
It's not pretty.
You think about, the outcast. There was someone in the Bible, I think, that ministered to outcasts and rejects of society.
There was.
Jesus.
He's a good guy.
So your answer is just be more like Jesus.
Be more like Jesus.
Okay.
And you have people that can give. Ask them to give. Say, and if they're not stepping up to the plate, go to people. Say, hey, we need this.
Yeah.
We need this. And when you go to the widow,
contribute toward it.
Contribute. She's probably going to say no.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Sometimes in our society, it's like, oh, a no's a no. With widows, it's not exactly a no.
Yeah, it's a different story.
It's a different story. It's maybe a not right now. It's maybe a I don't know. That went off.
Yeah.
It's maybe a I don't know. It's a no, but maybe it's a yes tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think the follow-up is really important, and involving people who they trust and love and feel comfortable around, because as widows, you're more you're very vulnerable. You're very vulnerable. You're very hurt. You don't want to talk to people. You don't maybe you do want to talk to people. Maybe you want to talk to people. You don't want to talk to people. You are a mess and you need help. And so you need people that have their heart set on Jesus, because at the end of the day, interacting with widows isn't about them. It's about the widow.
Sonya, we're going to get a part 2. We've got to, because I feel like there's a lot more to be said.
Oh, there's a lot more.
But I just want to thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you so much for being part of our church and having such a great ministry, and for sharing your gift.
Oh, of course. I'm always willing to share. Sharing is caring.
All right. God bless.